The wind came rolling down the hills of northern Arizona like a mournful hymn, dragging dust and silence behind it. That spring the land had nothing to offer, not a green stalk nor a rain cloud. Just cracked dirt and desperation, asterisk at the county. Fairgrounds outside Winslow, things were quieter than usual. The livestock pens had fewer animals, and the folk who came to barter had less to trade. But a strange new auction had been whispered about. Folks called it the hush trade. Not many asked questions because the answers left a bad taste in your mouth. Asterisk Cash Rollins stood at the edge of the pen, his arms crossed over his chest, a faded hat low over his brow. His ranch had been dry for years. He had lost 24 head of cattle and buried a wife he didn't love just to inherit her father's cursed land. Now the house was empty and the wind too loud. Still, it wasn't for companionship he was here. He came because he'd heard someone was putting up a woman, a foreign one, for auction, asterisk Argentine. The man whispered beside him, barely speaks English. Picked her up down south, near the border, asterisk Cash didn't answer. He just stared. Asterisk they brought her out quietly. She wasn't led like livestock, but neither did she walk with pride. Her wrists were loosely bound with twine, and her dress, sky blue, torn at the edges, clung to her like it hadn't been washed in weeks. Her dark hair fell over one side of her face, and her eyes looked hollow, like someone who'd already survived too much to fear the rest. Asterisk names not known. Says she used to work with horses, asterisk a few men murmured. One laughed. Asterisk starting bid, $5. 6, came a lazy voice. Cash said nothing. He looked at her, then past her, asterisk 8. Asterisk Cash raised 2 fingers. 9, asterisk the other. Bidder turned. For real, Rollins? Cash didn't blink. Sold? Asterisk, they cut the twine and handed her a pair of boots too big for her feet. She didn't even look at Cash, but when he turned, she followed. No words were exchanged. No handshake? Just a long drive down a dusty road until the ranch house appeared like a ghost from the plain. Asterisk Cash parked his truck, turned off the ignition, and finally said, "You can have the guest room. You'll eat what I eat. Do what work you can. You're free here." Asterisk, she looked at him for the first time. Her face was not beautiful in the Hollywood sense. Her nose was slightly crooked. Her skin sun-darkened, but her eyes, they held something that had survived storms. Asterisk, my name is Alma, she said softly. Her accent curled like a river. Asterisk Cash nodded once. You got a past? Asterisk. Yes. Asterisk, you want to talk about it? No, fair. That was how it started. Alma didn't ask for much, and she didn't smile often, but she worked. She cleaned out the barn, stitched the curtains, and even helped mend the fence when a coyote tore through it. Some days she would sit on the porch steps after dusk and hum a song that sounded like heartbreak stitched with lullabies. Asterisk Cash watched her in silence. He hadn't spoken to a woman in a real way in years. His dead wife had been sharp-tongued, the marriage arranged, and her passing hadn't stirred much grief. But Alma, she carried her silence like a shield, and it pulled at something in him. Asterisk, then one evening, he found her staring at the old photograph on the mantel, a picture of his late wife, in her wedding dress, unsmiling, eyes as cold as a northern lake. Asterisk Alma turned slowly. She loved you? Asterisk, no, Cash said. And I didn't love her either. It was done for land, that's all. Asterisk Alma nodded. Then you are not cruel, but you are lonely. Cash didn't reply. That night the wind came hard. A storm rolled in from the hills, shaking the shutters and howling down the chimney. Cash got up to check the barn and found Alma already there, barefoot in the mud, trying to calm a pregnant mare thrashing in the stall. Asterisk. She's early, Alma said. She'd die if we don't help. Asterisk, he'd never seen anyone move the way she did. Sure, fast, calm. Alma placed her palms on the mare's belly and whispered in Spanish. The storm raged louder, but Alma's voice cut through it. Asterisk, when the foal finally dropped, Alma fell back, soaked and trembling. Cash knelt beside her. Asterisk, you done this before? He asked. Asterisk, she nodded, breathless. I was raised on horses. In Cordoba, before ... She didn't finish. He pulled off his jacket and placed it around her shoulders. I didn't buy you, Alma, he said quietly. I saw you were being sold and I knew it was wrong, that's all. Asterisk, she looked at him. Through wet lashes. Then why did you bring me here? Asterisk, Cash hesitated. Because no one else would have treated you like a person. Asterisk, she closed her eyes. You're kind. Asterisk, he didn't answer. But he knew, deep in his chest, that something had changed. Not just in her, but in him. Asterisk, the next morning they found a man waiting by the fence. He wore a sheriff's badge. Asterisk, you Cash Rollins? Asterisk, I am. Asterisk, this woman, the Argentine girl, she's listed on a federal watch report. Said to be a missing person, possibly linked to a trafficking ring out of Texas. You mind if we come inside and ask her a few questions? Cash's hands curled at his sides. Alma stood in the doorway, barefoot and pale. Her lips trembled. Asterisk, Cash stepped in front of her. Not without a warrant. Asterisk, the sheriff narrowed his eyes. That's so? Asterisk, that's so. Asterisk, behind him, Alma whispered. They'll take me. And they won't ask why I ran. They'll just send me back? Cash glanced back, his chest tight. Not if I marry you, he said, the words tumbling out like a gamble. Not if you're my wife. Alma stared at him, stunned, breathless, and the sheriff just lifted his brow. That a real proposal, Rollins, or a cover-up? Asterisk, Alma stepped forward slowly, her voice breaking. It's real, asterisk, the sheriff hesitated. You better mean it, asterisk, Cash didn't blink. I do. Asterisk, but what neither of them knew, what Alma hadn't dared speak aloud, was the real reason she'd run. Asterisk and the man she was hiding from had just crossed the state line. The sheriff drove off without another word, but his taillights glowed red all the way down the dusty road, like a warning neither of them could quite name. Cash stood with his hands braced against the porch railing long after the truck disappeared, his shoulders tight, his breath shallow. Behind him, Alma stood silent, arms wrapped around herself as if the Arizona sun no longer warmed her. Asterisk, he finally turned. You okay? Asterisk, Alma nodded slowly, but her eyes said no. They were far away now, as if seeing something not in front of her. Something long buried but never forgotten. Asterisk, Cash motioned for her to sit. We'll talk, Alma, when you're ready. Asterisk, she looked at him, truly looked, and for the first time, her eyes softened not with gratitude, but with the pain of someone about to open an old wound. Asterisk, I wasn't stolen, she said quietly. Not the way they think. Asterisk, Cash didn't move. Just listen. Asterisk, I married the wrong man, she whispered. He was American. A rancher from Texas. I met him when he came through Argentina looking for cattle stock. He had a crook smile and talked like he owned the wind. Her fingers twisted in her skirt. He told me I'd be a queen on his land. Promised me horses, fields, children. I was young. I believed him. Asterisk, Cash sat beside her but said nothing. The air was dry, heavy with storm residue and the scent of something dying in the distance. Asterisk, he brought me back here. Not to a ranch, but to a trailer off a broken road. No horses, just debt. And fists. She blinked quickly once. The first time he hit me, he cried after, said it was the liquor. Said it wouldn't happen again. The second time he didn't cry. And the third time, he locked me inside for a week with no food. Just to teach me respect. Asterisk, she looked up then. Her face wasn't tear-stained. It was stone. Asterisk. One night I climbed out the bathroom window. I ran until my feet bled. Hitched rides. Hid in barns, and then I got caught by a man who said he'd help me. Instead, he sold me. That was 3 weeks before you saw me at the auction. Asterisk, Cash had heard hard stories before. Ranch life had a way of chewing people up, especially women. But something in Alma's voice made his stomach twist. Asterisk, what's his name? He asked. Asterisk, her lips trembled. Luke Kincaid. Asterisk, the name hit like a blow. Cash leaned back, frowning. Asterisk, I knew a Kincaid, he said. We met at a cattle show in Amarillo maybe 6 years ago. Always had a snake's grin. Smelled like hair oil and cigar ash. Asterisk, that's him, Alma whispered. He doesn't like when people leave him, and he doesn't let them stay free. Asterisk. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then a distant noise, small, metallic, echoed down the dirt road. A truck engine. Cash stood. Alma rose too, every muscle in her body suddenly taut. Asterisk. From the bend, an old red pickup appeared, crawling up the drive like a spider. 2 men sat inside. The driver wore a wide-brimmed hat and mirrored sunglasses. His window was down and his arm hung out casually, but the air around him pulsed with danger. Alma took 1 step back. "That's him." Asterisk. Cash didn't speak. He walked down the porch steps slowly, planting his boots in the dirt, one hand resting near the revolver on his hip. The truck came to a stop 10 feet away. The man in the hat leaned forward and smiled. Asterisk. "Well, I'll be," he drawled. "If it ain't Cash Rollins. Heard you been collecting strays." Asterisk. Cash didn't smile. "Luke Kincaid." Asterisk. Luke flicked a glance toward the porch. "Alma, you look good, sweetheart. Real healthy. Guess you ain't been missing me too much." Asterisk. Alma's voice cracked. "You sold me." Asterisk. Luke chuckled, a low, mean sound. "I sold what I owned." "Ain't that America?" Asterisk. Cash stepped closer. "You don't own people, Kincaid." Asterisk. Luke's smile vanished. "You think I came here to argue law?" No, I came to get what's mine. Or maybe just leave with what I can break." "Either works." Asterisk. Cash didn't flinch. "She's not going anywhere." "She's my wife now." Asterisk. Luke's gaze narrowed. "Married? Is that right?" Asterisk. "That's right." Asterisk. Luke turned to the man in the passenger seat. "Hear that, Benny? Boy bought himself a bride. $9 and a ceremony, and now he thinks he's safe." Benny smirked but said nothing. Cash's hand moved subtly toward his gun, but Luke raised 1 finger. Not today, Rollins. You shoot me, and the sheriff will find a record of this girl false name. No papers, no visa. You really think they'll believe you didn't buy yourself a foreign woman for comfort?" Asterisk. Cash's jaw clenched. Luke leaned out the window. Asterisk. "You've got 2 days. Then I come back. Either I take her or I ruin you. Choose which kind of man you want to be." Asterisk. He revved the engine and turned the truck, leaving a cloud of dust that choked the air. Asterisk. Cash didn't move until the rumble faded completely. Then he turned to Alma. "We'll figure this out," he said, but Alma only looked away, her face hollow again. Asterisk. "You don't understand," she whispered. "He doesn't threaten unless he knows he'll win." Asterisk. Cash stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You're not his anymore." Asterisk. She looked up then, her voice brittle. "But what if I was never mine either?" That night, Alma packed a bag. Cash found her just past midnight, walking barefoot toward the back pasture where the old road disappeared into the hills. Asterisk. "You leaving?" he asked. Asterisk. She stopped, but didn't turn around. "I thought if I left you out of it, he'd let you be. You gave me everything, Cash, but you don't deserve to pay for what I ran from." Asterisk. Cash exhaled hard. "You think this ranch means anything? Without someone to come home to, you walk off, he still wins, and I lose more than land." She finally turned, her face streaked with tears. "You don't even know me." Asterisk. "I know enough." Asterisk. She looked down. "Then you should know I didn't come here to be saved. I came here to disappear." Asterisk. "And now you got something to live for," Cash said. "Let me fight with you." But Alma only looked back at the hills. "I'm not sure I remember how to let anyone fight for me." Asterisk. And with that she took 1 step into the darkness only, to hear the softest sound, a child's voice behind them, sleepy, fragile. "Miss Alma?" Asterisk. They turned. At the edge of the porch stood a boy, Noah, the neighbor's youngest, who came by some mornings to feed the horses. He held a note in his hand. Asterisk. "This was in the mailbox. For you." Asterisk. Alma took the paper with trembling hands, opened it. 1 line scrawled in red ink. "You can run, but you won't get far. The past always finds its way back." It rained that morning, rare as gold in northern Arizona. Thin, angry streaks that tapped on the tin roof and slid down the cracked window panes like warning tears. Alma stood barefoot on the kitchen tiles, the note crumpled in her hand, her breath shallow as if her ribs had shrunk. Cash moved behind her without making a sound. You sleep at all? He asked softly. She shook her head. Every time I close my eyes I see him. His boots by the door. The belt he used to hang beside the bed. Cash gritted his jaw. That note, he wants fear. That's how he keeps people leashed. Alma turned to him, eyes rimmed red but dry now. Cash, he burned down a neighbor's house once. Just because the man told me not to cry so loud. He tied his own brother to a tree because he owed him money. Luke Kincaid doesn't just bluff. I'm not bluffing either, Cash replied, his voice low and even. He wants to come here. Let him. He'll find out real fast I'm not. Made of straw and silence. Alma closed her eyes. You'll get killed? Cash took a step closer. I've been half dead since I buried my brother and buried myself right after. You gave me breath again, Alma. You gave me a reason to. Wake up that didn't feel like a punishment. I'll take a bullet before I let that man steal you back into hell. She looked at him then, a single tear finally sliding down her cheek. You talk like I'm worth dying for. You talk like you aren't. The ranch felt stiller than usual that day. The horses paced in their stalls, uneasy. Even the crows didn't call from the fence post like they normally did. Cash walked the perimeter 3 times, checking the old rifle slung over his shoulder and loading a fresh round into the revolver holstered at his hip. By sundown, Alma was on the porch sharpening the kitchen knife over a whetstone. She didn't ask why. It was just something she remembered her mother doing. Back when knives were all women had against drunk men. Cash, she said suddenly, I lied to you. He turned from where he was tightening the window shutters. She stood, stiff and trembling. There's something I didn't tell you about Luke. Cash stepped forward slowly. I wasn't just his wife, I was his pawn. He used me. Smuggled things in my luggage when we flew back from Argentina. I didn't know at first, but then he started asking me to deliver packages. One day I opened one. It was pills, hundreds of them. Cash's expression darkened. I tried to tell someone. A woman I met at the diner in Junction. That night, Luke came home drunker than I'd ever seen him. Said he'd heard I was getting brave, and then her voice cracked. He made me watch him burn my old passport. Said if I ever ran, I'd be nothing. No country, no rights, just a body. Cash placed a hand on her shoulder, gentle but firm. You ran anyway. I had to. I couldn't live another day in that house. I didn't care if I died out here, as long as it wasn't with his hands on me. You're not dying, Cash said firmly. Not here. Not like this. The knock came just after midnight. 3 heavy pounds on the door. Calm, cold, like someone who already knew they were coming in. Cash stood. Alma did too. He handed her the revolver. If I fall, he said quietly, you shoot. Don't hesitate. I've never shot anyone. There's a first time for everything. Another knock. Then the door opened. Luke Kincaid stood. There like he owned the dirt beneath his boots. Behind him, Benny held a shotgun casually in one hand, chewing on a toothpick. Luke stepped inside without invitation. Nice place, quiet, if it burned. Get out, Cash growled. Luke smiled. You got real brave real fast. That ranch widow must have lit something under you. You don't scare me. Then let's fix that. And he pulled. A gun, Alma screamed. Benny raised his shotgun. Cash stepped between them and didn't flinch. Kill me, and every sheriff in this state will know your name, Cash said. You threatened a woman already on record with the county. You show? Up with weapons, no warrant, no cause, you'll rot in a cell. Luke grinned. I never said I'd kill you here. I'll take her outside. I'll tell the cops she came willingly. I'll even say you two had a lover's spat. You won't be dead, just ruined. He reached for Alma's arm, and that's when she moved. Not. With panic, but with purpose. She swung the butt of the revolver into Luke's wrist. The gun clattered to the floor. Benny lunged forward, but Cash tackled him into the wall with a grunt. and the shotgun went flying. Luke scrambled to grab the pistol, but Alma was faster. She pointed it at him. Hands shaking. I was scared of you, she whispered, for years. But not anymore. Luke spat blood, rising slowly. You don't have the guts. Alma cocked the hammer. Try me. The room froze, then tires screeched outside. Red and blue lights flooded through the window. Cash looked at Alma. I called the sheriff. The second you knocked. Told him to come if I didn't answer his return call in 5 minutes. Luke turned to run, but the door burst open. 2 deputies stormed in. Benny hit the ground fast. Luke tried to make a move, but the barrel of a deputy's rifle stopped him cold. You picked the wrong wrench. Cash muttered. The deputies dragged the 2 men out into the storm. Alma dropped the gun and sank into a chair, trembling. 1 of the deputies lingered behind. You okay, man? She nodded. I think I will be. When the house was quiet again, Cash sat beside her. You fought, he said. You didn't freeze. I've been frozen for years, she whispered. Tonight, I thought. He reached out, took her hand. You're not just surviving anymore, Alma, you're living. She looked at him then, and this time, when she smiled, it wasn't a flicker. It was a sunrise, but outside, as the rain began again, a single sheriff's deputy stood watching the old barn from his cruiser. A message had come through his radio, something faint but urgent. Kincaid had someone else on the payroll. A woman. She slipped away before backup arrived. The rain passed with morning, but left behind the scent of ash in the soil, though nothing had burned. It was the kind of scent you could feel in your throat before you smelled it. Unease lingered. The kind that made the animals shift restlessly, the kind that made even the birds go quiet. Cash stood by the barn, oiling the hinges of the back gate. He hadn't spoken much since the sheriff left that night, and Alma understood. There were words that took time to find, even for men like Cash Rollins, hard men, good men. Men who'd forgotten how to cry without being ashamed of it. Inside the house. Alma swept the floor for the 3rd time, more out of nerves than need. Her hands moved in rhythm, but her eyes kept glancing toward the window, toward the horizon that had swallowed Luke Kincaid and his men. He was gone. Locked up, done, but not finished. She hadn't told Cash about the woman. About Isadora. Had been the one person Alma trusted once back in Texas, in those early months of her marriage to Luke before the bruises. Isadora came with charm, softness, and a terrifying loyalty to Luke. Alma had thought they were friends. Until she discovered Isadora handled Luke's quiet business deals, paid off cops, carried envelopes from one ranch to another. She wasn't. Just an assistant. She was a cleaner. The last time Alma saw her, Isadora had whispered through clenched teeth, "Run all you want. You're not the only one who knows where bones are buried." That was 2 years ago. Alma hoped she was bluffing. But the look in her eyes the night Luke was arrested, the glint in the shadows by the barn said. She was back and she wasn't bluffing anymore. That afternoon, a letter arrived in the mailbox. No return address. No name, just Alma's first initial scrawled on the envelope. She opened it slowly. Inside, a single photo, a little boy, dark hair, pale skin. The same dimple Alma saw in the mirror every morning. She dropped the picture. Cash caught it before it hit the floor. He looked at the photo, then at her. Alma? She couldn't breathe. He's mine, she whispered. I had a baby. Cash froze. I didn't know I was pregnant when I ran from Luke. I found out 6 weeks later. Hiding out in a migrant camp in El Paso, I was terrified, sick, alone, and then I lost the baby. That's what I was told. I woke up in a clinic after. I collapsed one night. They said I bled too much, that the baby was gone. Cash stared at her, his voice hoarse. You think they lied to you? Alma nodded, too numb to cry. Why now? Why show you the child now? Alma's eyes found the envelope again. She picked it up. Inside, one more slip of paper, asterisk, he has his father's eyes. If you want him to keep them, come alone. Sundown. Carson Gulch. Asterisk, Cash read the note. His face turned white. Asterisk, Carson Gulch is abandoned. No phone lines, no backup. Asterisk, I have to go. Asterisk, you're not going alone. Asterisk, Alma shook her head. She said alone. Asterisk, she kill you. Asterisk, she kill him. If I don't, asterisk, Cash turned away, fists clenched. It's a trap. Asterisk, I know. Asterisk, and you're walking into it. Asterisk, I have no choice. Asterisk, Cash stared at her for a long time, then finally nodded. Then we walk into it together, just not side by side. By sundown, Alma stood alone on the edge of Carson Gulch, the dry wind sweeping up dust into her skirt. The canyon below was rust-red and barren, a slit in the land like a scar that never closed. Then a figure appeared, Isadora, asterisk, black coat, red scarf. Blonde hair pulled tight like a noose. Asterisk, she walked with purpose, but her eyes held the same warmth as a rattlesnake before a strike. Asterisk, you came. Asterisk, where is he? Alma demanded. Asterisk, Isadora smiled. Oh, he's safe. For now, but you knew this. Wasn't really about him. Asterisk, what do you want? Asterisk, closure, she said softly. Luke's gone. You ruined everything. His empire, his clients, his future. He trusted me, Alma, but he loved you. Even while he was breaking you. Asterisk, love doesn't look like that. Asterisk, Isadora took out a knife. Maybe not to you. But I grew up learning love meant surviving together. You chose to survive alone. Suddenly, from the shadows behind a boulder, a small boy darted forward, scared, confused. Mama! Asterisk, Alma's knees buckled. Miguel! She rushed forward, but Isadora caught her by the hair and dragged her back. I said no movement. Until I'm done? Asterisk, Cash's voice echoed from the rocks. She's done. A gun cocked, Isadora froze. Cash stepped out, rifle raised. Let the boy go! Asterisk, but Isadora's eyes gleamed. You're good, cowboy, but not good enough. Asterisk, and in a flash, she pulled the boy to her chest, blade against his throat. Cash didn't flinch. Alma, he said, voice calm, talk to her. Asterisk, Alma was shaking. But her voice didn't break. Asterisk, you loved him, but he never loved you. He used you, just like he used me. Isadora's lip trembled. He sent you to watch me. To hurt me, not because he trusted you, but because you were disposable. Asterisk, shut up, Isadora cried. Asterisk, Alma stepped closer. But I don't think you're disposable. I think you wanted to save him, and now you're lost. Asterisk, Isadora looked away. Her hand loosened. Asterisk, Miguel twisted free and ran into Alma's arms. Asterisk, that split second was all Cash needed. One shot rang out. Isadora hit the dirt, shoulder bleeding, eyes wide with shock. Not dead, but done. 2 days later, the sheriff took Isadora into custody. Charges stacked like a bonfire ready to burn. Asterisk, Cash filed paperwork, got Miguel's records. Adoption underway. Asterisk, Alma stood by the porch holding her son for the first time. He's so small, she whispered. He's mighty, Cash said, smiling. Asterisk, she looked at him. Why did you do all this for me? For us? Asterisk, Cash didn't speak for a long time. Then, because I saw a woman no man deserved, but every man should fight for. Asterisk, she leaned against him. You didn't buy me, Cash. Asterisk, I never thought. I did. Asterisk, she kissed his cheek. You gave me back everything. Asterisk, and for once, Alma didn't feel like a woman running from fire. Asterisk, she felt like the one who walked through it and came out with a child in one arm and a man on her side. Both of them hers, not because of ownership. Asterisk, but because of choice.